everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mouse Ears podcast. You're listening to your go-to source for all things travel, but mostly Disney, sponsored by Fairy Tale Journeys Travel. Whether you're a first-time visitor or a seasoned Disney pro, we're here to bring you the latest news, insider secrets, and fun stories from the happiest and most magical places on Earth. Make sure you give us a like and a follow on whichever platform you're listening to or watching us. And don't forget to check out Mouse Ears blog, where we dive even deeper into Disney tips, trip planning, and all the park magic in one location. Now let's jump into today's episode because the magic starts right now. So, in order to get started, if you've been listening to us at this point, season 4, episode, what is it, 81, 80? 81.
81. Crazy.
We've got two fantastic hosts, addition to me, Stephanie. I've got Brooks. How are you, Brooks?
Howdy ho, neighbors. Doing well.
We've got Jen. How are you, Jen?
I'm doing well, thank you.
We're missing Kelton. I know, we're all very sad, but he's actually on his first ever Disney cruise, so we're excited for him. Hopefully,
he's not on a royal cruise?
He's not on a royal cruise. I know, and he might be converted, fingers crossed. He's making Laura, the Queen of Cruises, proud right now. But instead of Kelton, we have a very, very special guest. First timer to the Mouse Ears podcast and a Disney fine artist, Dom Corona. How are you, Dom?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Super, super excited to have you on here. So the people listening were probably wondering, why is there an artist on this show? Well, people, we talk about all things travel, but mostly Disney. And there's a lot that happens in Disney, not just booking a trip. And one of those wonderful things is the Festival of the Arts that has just concluded over at EPCOT. And Dom Corona was actually there for the majority of the festival, doing all kinds of fantastic things, from greeting fans, painting, taking selfies, and just looking fabulous. Also drinking margaritas, which we'll talk about as well. So before we really dive into this fantastic topic that we've got laid out for you guys today, we're going to do today's trivia. Brooks, take it away.
All right. Well, today's trivia question is brought to you by a wonderful sponsor, Fairy Tale Journeys Travel. Next time you want to book a Disney cruise, let the agents at Fairy Tale Journeys Travel take care of all the details for a stress-free experience at no additional cost to you. When you book with them, not only do you get expert advice, but you can also receive up to a $1,000 onboard credit. This offer is exclusive to bookings made with Fairy Tale Journeys Travel, so contact them today and let them know that the podcast sent you, and enjoy a magical Disney cruise getaway. So today's trivia question, since we have the great Dom Corona on here, decided to go with a animation trivia question.
Ooh.
So the class of 1989 Disney Legends, which is like their Hall of Fame, consists of 10 animators. It consists of Disney's 9 old men and what other famous Disney animator? Stay tuned to the end of the episode for the answer.
Totally lost. I don't even have an
no
educated
idea.
guess. Nothing. You really stopped me today. That one. Well, anyways, thanks, Brooks. Can't wait to hear it at the end of the episode. So
we don't have to guess it?
I mean, you can guess it.
No. I'm thrilled. I was really nervous for a second.
No, we'll give the answer in the end. We kind of we think about it today, have no guesses whatsoever. I'm just going to let it be.
Yeah,
This is great.
sometimes we try to guess. I
Yeah.
don't think that'll be happening today.
No,
No.
I have no
not on
clue.
my end. Not over here.
So, stick around for the trivia question answer at the end of the episode. But for now, we're going to get started on today's episode topic. So, in a nutshell, we're going to be talking about the Festival of the Arts with Disney fine artist Dom Corona, his perspective. What are some of, how he became a Disney fine artist? What was it like to participate in the festival? We'll talk about some of his art pieces. We'll talk about his famous margarita from, this season, and a few other things to just have everyone get to know Dom Corona. And so before I hand over the mic, the figurative mic, over to Dom, just a little bit of backstory about him. So at about 5 years old, Dom visited Walt Disney World for the first time and sketched his first Mickey Mouse. In 2008, he visited Hollywood Studios and where it planted the seed for his future when a Disney artist wrote, "To Dominic, future Disney artist." After participating in the Disney College program in 2016, Dom honed his skills and built a dedicated online following. In 2021, he was invited to be a part of the Disney Creators Lab, opening doors to official opportunities with the Walt Disney Company and ultimately leading him to Disney Fine Art. Did I miss anything? Do you want to elaborate on, where your love of Disney and art kind of stemmed from and how it kind of progressed to where you are now?
I think that, definitely from the first time that I visited, I was in line to meet Sorcerer Mickey, and I had my little autograph book, and I drew him just looking at him, and it's absolutely awful, but it's a little Mickey, and then he signed his name next to it. And Sorcerer Mickey was my favorite Mickey growing up, and he still is, but Steamboat Willie is like, they're really, they go, yeah, they're interchangeable for me. But I just always wanted to be a Disney artist, and I didn't know what it looked like or in what capacity I would be able to do that in. So yeah, no, my love of Disney just grew ever since I came here. And I knew that I probably liked Disney a lot before I came to the parks for the first time. But I think it's that first visit to the parks where you're like, this is the best thing ever. And, I'm an only child, so I think that I probably clung on to it a lot. I haven't unclung myself. I don't know how you would say that, but yeah, it just gets stronger every day probably. So yeah.
I love that it gets stronger with each day because, for those of us fans of yours who follow you on social media, I know you're at the parks often, whether here on the East Coast or even in Disneyland in the West Coast. So when I hear something like that, I just think, oh man, this is someone who's probably getting inspired left and right, to draw or to do something, artistic. And we'll elaborate more as the episode goes on. So you would say that you were always drawn to painting.
That was good.
Do you have a favorite medium?
Yeah, I only paint in acrylic. So acrylic is like my number one favorite. It's what I love about acrylic paint is it dries fast, sometimes a little too fast, but that's okay. Because oil, I don't have the patience for. I would love one day to venture into oil paint, but I would have to learn some serious patience skills to be able to work with oil paint because it like takes forever to dry. And acrylic paint is great because it's like, I paint the background, if I just put my base color down and then I can, take a little break, come back to it like 20 minutes later, it's all dry, it's ready to go. And there's also like different mediums that you can mix into acrylic paint, which is great. And, they can kind of, if you're working on something that you need it to dry a little bit slower, you can mix that in and it'll dry slower or even faster. So it's a great medium. So yeah, acrylic paint is my number one.
How long? I know there's different, and I'm kind of going to be jumping a little bit as the conversation flows and my questions kind of I get inspired. I know you paint basically different sizes, but on average, how long does it take you to make an artwork?
It depends more than the size of the piece. It depends on the subject and really how it's coming together creatively for me. There's always a part of creating a piece where I hate it. It happens every time without fail. It's like I look at it and I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. And then, sometimes it'll only take me like an hour to kind of go back into it with like fresh eyes. And then I'm like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever done. And sometimes I go back to a piece after a day or a week. So it just varies based on, if I really like the piece or if I'm, like this piece behind me, I did just for like this room. And so I knew what my vision was and I knew it wasn't going to be a very like intricate piece. So it came together and I was really happy painting it. I was in a great mindset and I really only try to paint when I'm in a great mindset. I think that's really important to like me and how I create art is I have to be in a good mood. I don't ever want to do anything when I'm like too stressed or too tired or anything because it definitely reflects in my work. But yeah, I know that's not the straightest answer, but it really depends on the piece and just how it's coming together creatively.
I think it was a very comprehensive answer, so please don't apologize by any means. But that's fantastic because I was curious at one point. Correct me if I'm wrong. One of the pieces that you did for the festival was the Mickey with the phone, the cell phone taking a picture.
Yes.
How was that? I'm obsessed with that piece, but how did that one come about?
So that one, we submit all of our work, and it gets approved to be part of the festival ahead of time, like months and months ahead of time. So I was trying to think of something really fun. I was always weary about including anything technology related in my work because I didn't want then the work to become outdated. I just felt like, I don't know, phones, I mean, my phone and like social media is such a big part of me as an artist. And so I thought it would be fun to paint that at EPCOT, and also didn't realize that I was going to hear so many people past it saying, "Oh my, like look, Mickey's taking a picture of you," and that really like was a lot of fun for me to hear because parents with their children and just kids like, "Oh my God, say cheese," or it was really cute. So I didn't know that it was going to kind of spark that, but I was really happy it did. So it came about just wanting to include something like phone and camera related, and I'm glad that I ended up painting it.
Well, I'll say I'm a huge fan of that one, and
Thank
what I
you.
think is you're welcome. It's funny because you're saying you don't want technology to be outdated, and you're in, Epcot, where you have Spaceship Earth, where it's
Yeah,
an iconic ride.
yeah.
But boy, oh boy, could that use, and I love that ride with my whole heart. It would be so cool if we could have some updated scenes, right? But
Oh yes, yes, for sure.
however, that's one of those artworks where you look at it and you're like, man, there's so many different ways to interpret it. And like, you can ask Jen and even Brooks, really, like, I'm the kind of person, I'm at the parks and I'm taking pictures left and right. So something like that, it's cool to hear how some of the fans and guests were perceiving that, um, you know, painting. Because I have my own perception of it, and I'm sure you did too, talking about Mickey taking a picture. But yeah, so more to that. Do you have like an aha moment when you realized you could make a career out of your Disney inspired art?
What would have been the moment? I think on my college program, I tried to ask as many questions as I could about what a career as an artist, like a Disney artist, could look like and what different avenues there were because I didn't necessarily know that Disney fine art was even an option and like a career option for me. So I thought that if this is something that I wanted to do, I would maybe have to be like an animator or not have to be. I mean, it's a great privilege to do any sort of art for the Walt Disney Company, but I didn't know if that was necessarily what I wanted to do because, I know that comes with a lack of freedom of being able to paint what you want. And yeah, I just asked a lot on my college program, and I think it happened really naturally over the years and just learning more about different art avenues within the Walt Disney Company. I think that's how it sort of came about, if I'm not getting too far away from your question.
No, you're not, especially because Disney has so much to offer, and I don't think everyone always sees Disney as something that has all these different facets.
Mhm.
So the fact that you had the opportunity to basically explore within the company, and of course, the Disney College Program is a great exposure slash tool, depending on how you use it. That's just awesome to hear. In case anyone listening out there is an aspiring artist, and can take some notes from you. But on that topic, did you have some early struggles and how did you push through when you first started or was navigating this new space?
Well, in high school, I like art has always been my thing. So I knew I wanted to do something with art, but I struggle wise, I mean, I would say even before any of this happened, I struggled in high school because I had an art teacher that was not very encouraging about my love of Disney and Disney art. And so she always told me like, those aren't your characters. Like, you can't do anything with this. Like, I don't do this basically. And yeah, it just was very dismissive of anything that I wanted to do Disney related. And she, like, I always tried to work it like into every project, and I really think that didn't make her happy. So I think that was definitely, I think, the biggest struggle, because I mean, I spent so much time with her. I spent like every day with her in school, and I was able to work it so that I had, I think, like multiple like periods of art within the day, because I took classes, so that I took like more advanced classes at the beginning of high school, so that like my last 2 years of high school were like freed up, and I only went into school for like art and maybe ceramics, which I also did Disney related things in ceramics, and that teacher was more fond of Disney. But that would be my biggest struggle, was kind of, and she made me not want to paint for a few years. So after that, and once I got back into it, I think I was much more optimistic about kind of taking it on and doing as much as I could with it.
Yeah, I found that it's hard when people don't love Disney as much as you do, that they're like, can you do anything else? Can you talk about anything else? There's other things out there in the world. And it was like, this is what I love and this is what I'm passionate about. So I want to know, like, how has your artistic style evolved over the years?
Well, I think that when I first started posting things on Instagram, I did this style that I'll always have like a love for, but it was more vibrant, and I sort of like outlined the characters like again and again with like kind of like white or different color sort of outlines, which I thought that was my style, and I was so not willing to try anything else. I loved that look, and I love that work, but I think I sort of was like, you know what, I can try to do different things, and I love that I've used softer colors as the years have gone on, and I think a lot of people associate my work now with like pastel colors and like just very soft color schemes, and sometimes I do something that's more vibrant or loud, but I tend to use, that like really soft color palette, and I think that that's probably really happened over the last 2 years of just 2 or 3 years of like my life. And I think it started with the mural that I did for Disney Springs, because I knew that piece I wanted to be really pastel. So that's when I bought all this pastel colored paint and like these light colors to mess around with. And I was like, oh, I really like this. And I even started using like, there's so many different kinds of acrylic paint. I learned that there's some that I really like the consistency of, because they're really light, and I layer them, and it gives them like chalk-ish effect. So I think that my work has evolved most with my like openness to explore different kinds of paint, honestly, and just like different brands and different kinds of acrylic paint, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And to me is real interesting hearing you talking about like experimenting with, you know, almost kind of different styles and everything. But what advice would you kind of give to aspiring artists who dream about one day working with Disney? Because like you said, when you were in the college program, you asked a lot of questions to see how you can get into that world.
Yeah, I would say just continue to build a portfolio, and wherever that is, whether it's like online, if it's a web page, or if it's a document or whatever it is, just continue to build it and keep it up to date and keep it filled with work that you're really proud of, and just show everyone. And like anything that you could be interested in as an artist, I think that like LinkedIn is such a great tool for connecting with different people, and maybe your art could catch the eye of someone who maybe want to put it on a product, and who knows where. I think that it's so not like linear, if that makes sense. There's just so many different avenues, and I think that my advice would be to just be open to what's out there, and always talk about your work, and want to share it with people. And I just keep trying new things, and build a portfolio, and show everyone and everything.
And don't let those cranky teachers
Don't
put
let
you
those
down.
teachers tell you that you can't do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Those
Yeah.
cranky teachers, what are we going to do
Yeah.
with them?
We don't like them. Off
She's
to the side.
retired now, thankfully. So
Off with the head.
Yeah.
But not really, y'all. We're family
No,
friendly.
no. That was the Queen of Hearts reference, please. Please.
Yeah.
No, so I wanted to just touch base a little bit about your layers and your colors, because I think that's one of the reasons why I was also very attracted to your artwork. I mean, for those that are watching us on YouTube can see, I actually have 3 of Dom Corona's amazing artwork in I call this my mouseum. I always have different Disney memorabilia stuff. I have a couple of, I have Royal Caribbean here, but anyways, you'll find just about anything and everything behind me from old to new. But anyways, I've got some of your artwork, and the colors, I love vibrant colors, but there's something about the usage of the colors that you use that's like pastel, but it's still bright without it being muted. And I think that is magical. And then the layers too. Yeah. It just so happens that Steamboat Willie and Sorcerer Mickey are my 2 favorite Mickeys. I did not know that you love them as much, so that's why I have those 2. So anyways, love it. Okay, I get sidetracked. Going off the rails. So we talked a little bit about what was the journey like from creating art at home or in your school to becoming an official Disney fine artist. But do you have anything more to add about like the last 3 years where you really came into being this Disney fine artist?
I think that, I think that a lot of the last, I want to say, especially the last 2 years and a little before that, since I started working with Four Seasons, I think that my work has been heavily influenced by the more tropical side of things and also the resort. And I think that I have a lot of like luxury product and brand influence into my work because I think the way I want to answer this is I would say that I really only try to paint things that I'm really interested in. And I think that the last 3 years, I've definitely gotten more and more strict with myself about the things that I paint. And as far as, you get asked for work that's commissioned or people have ideas and they come to you, and I try to really stay true to like what my vision is, and I'm happy to create other things, but I really try to every day stay more true to like what my vision is as an artist and draw inspiration from the things that make me happy. So I think that it takes a lot because you don't want to be so like I only want to do this or oh I only do that. But I think it makes you who you are as an artist, and I think like staying true to the things that make me happy makes my work better in turn. So I think that that's gotten more and more evident in my work in the last few years.
As a fan, I will say that if there's 2 things that actually there's a lot of positive things I could say, but if there's 2 words I could use, it's that I feel like you evoke a lot of happiness and confidence in your work. So,
Thank you.
in everything that you're welcome, but I mean that genuinely. And so, it's no surprise to me that Disney would then ask you to be a part of, EPCOT's Festival of the Arts. So we're dying to know what it's like to be an artist at EPCOT's Festival of the Arts, because that's my favorite festival. Will you see me at Food and Wine often? Yes, you will. That is definitely when I'm at the park the most. But not because Festival of the Arts isn't my favorite. I'm not at Festival of the Arts more because that's right after the holidays when I'm poor, after all the presents.
And it's also the shortest one, too, other than holidays.
It's very short, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. It really does. But I'm very passionate about Festival of the Arts. I'll be honest, our season 2, I think it was season 2. It was just Brooks, Kelton, and I. Jen hadn't joined us yet. And we did a whole background episode on Festival of the Arts, and it's probably our top 5 most listened to episodes.
Oh.
The whole entire time we're just so passionate talking about, all the different things. Totally shouted you out on that one.
Aw. I have to listen to it.
Yeah, if you want. It's one of our earlier episodes. But, we're really excited to hear your perspective from being at Festival of the Arts. How does Disney even ask you to be there? And then not only that, the margarita.
Yeah, the Artgarita.
So anyways, yes.
Well, I'm there with Disney Fine Art, right? And that's the group. So we had a few booths in that area, that new area right next to Communicore Hall. So it was something that I was there with them for the first time last year officially, because we had, it takes a lot of prep work and things need to be kind of solidified many months in advance, because then, Disney needs to put schedules out and be able to promote things. So it's an opportunity that I've had. Now, I've been at Festival of the Arts for 3 years, but I've been there with Disney Fine Art the last 2 years. It being there is, it's insanely inspiring, because it's just like, you kind of get in your zone when you're painting, and then you like look and there's Spaceship Earth, or like, it's, you like sort of forget where you are for a second, and that's really cool. And it's also really cool to just see people talk about my work, and I kind of like being a fly on the wall sometimes, and seeing people kind of go into like my little booth area and talk about which pieces they like, or where they saw something previously, or where they know my work from, is always really exciting, because it's always like, wow, I didn't think that maybe they would associate my work with this or that, or just I'm lucky to be around other really incredible artists. And I think what's a lot of fun is people always knowing kind of like where one artist's work stops and where my work begins. That I think is really fun, because it's like, that to me says like I do have my own style, and it's like, for me not to say anything to anyone, for somebody to just come in and know that is a lot of fun for me. But no, it's just, it's the most incredible experience. And like knowing that there's a whole festival with like foods and seeing other Disney fine artists like Trevor Carlton paint live. It's like, I don't know how to be on that stage and be painting in like 20 minutes. I could never do that. And there's so many people there that are artists and like specialize in different kinds of mediums. So it's really fun to kind of walk around and see my favorite artists, and yeah, so it's just a wonderful experience overall.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sometimes I just delay. I love hearing that you're like a fly on the wall listening to people's, thoughts, and what they think about your, the emotion that comes out looking at your different artwork. And like I said, your artwork is so fun. It really, really is. And you have, all the iconic characters, lots of Mickey. You got some Stitch in there and Winnie. But I feel like that's probably like the most satisfying thing. Like you said, you can differentiate what's my artwork versus them. But you know what? You say that you can never be on that stage. I bet you can, and you will in a few years. It's going to happen. You've had already so much success, and I know you're going up from here. So it's only been 3 years. Look at how much you've accomplished. Seriously.
I think it's a different kind of, it's a performance art, right? So I don't think that's maybe where I draw the line of being up there and having a billion eyes on me while I'm dancing to and singing, or not singing, but dancing and painting. It's just, I'd be like, I'd have stage fright. I just wouldn't be able to do it.
I bet if you had Nemo, your pet, you'd be fine. Just saying.
Yeah.
He's the emotional support pet that we all need.
Yeah.
It's the cutest. He is so adorable.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
He's so cute. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love seeing him on your social media. It's like, ooh. Anyways, I get off topic. So, okay. How do you mentally and emotionally and physically, like with your artworks, prepare for a festival like this? Do you like bring all your artworks? Do you have a plan of like what you're going to bring? Walk us through this process of yours, please.
Yeah, so we plan kind of what's going to be there, and we also pre-plan what pieces I'm going to be painting there. That's done, months ahead, because it kind of, everything with Disney is done. They want to know like what I'm going to paint there, and so I bring my paints. But as far as like what I'm painting each day there, that's sort of like, that's not something that I really plan in advance. Like it's sort of like what I'm feeling that day, because I at least need to have the freedom of like what I'm painting that day. Like I don't know what mood I'm going to be in that day, so like I had a bunch of concepts that I gave to them, and so there was Mickey, there was Donald, there was more Mickey, and I always kind of want to paint Mickey. It's like it just happens that way, and I know it's like I need to kind of expand my character base a little bit, but it's mostly Mickey, yeah. But there was a really cute piece I did that I loved of Donald and Spike the Bee, and that piece sold like pretty much as soon as I finished it. So I was like, it's also fun to like paint things and be able to like look at them for a little bit. So it's like bittersweet that it's sold so fast because then it's like I don't like I look at pictures of it, I'm like, oh, I remember this. Like, but you finish it and then it's like it's like gone. Um, I didn't really get to appreciate my own work in that sense, but yeah, no, I have to be in the mood to like. I gotta figure out what mood I'm in that day and what the vibe is when I get there. If like, if it's like cold, maybe I'm like not. I don't know. It may be Mickey's not so tropical that day or something. I don't know. It's like I gotta feel the vibe of the day to figure out which piece I want to start painting.
I had
If that
no
makes sense.
idea. No, for sure. I honestly had no idea how much pre-planning was actually
Yeah.
done between artist and Disney Fine Art, and that you
Mhm.
have to come up with concepts and stuff, because I'm all about what I'm feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking, oh, I just thought you would just show up and I'm feeling Mickey today with a phone and he's taking selfie and just like everyone else in this park. Just throwing an example out there, whether that happened or not, where you pre-planned it. I mean, you mentioned you did, but still,
Well,
it's just
everything with Disney, with the characters. I think I'm allowed to say this. It needs to be approved beforehand because character integrity is super important to the Walt Disney Company, and I mean, rightfully so. I always really happy. I embraced the fact that I didn't invent these characters, but I'm allowed to create pieces of art with them. So for me, when things get, I submit pieces and sometimes there will be corrections on them that I need to fix, whether, Mickey's thumb might be a little bit long or, it could be something like that. And I just appreciate that it's being looked at that closely because again, I didn't invent Mickey, unfortunately. I would have loved to. I probably wouldn't be here right now, but it would probably be long gone. I want to pay as much respect to Mickey and the other characters as I can for something to be like corrected by somebody who knows even more than I do about the integrity of the character and how something should look is more of like an honor for me to be able to have that opportunity for it to be looked at. Because, there was once upon a time when I wasn't a Disney fine artist where I just painted things and, I would post them and like, it didn't really mean as much in terms of like, it wasn't official Disney art. Um, like this is what I worked so hard for is the opportunity for it to be corrected. So
you leveled up. That's what this is. Being a Disney Fine Art, this is leveling up. That is
it's
awesome.
an honor. It really is. It's really cool. I mean, it's not something that I would have ever like. I would never would have thought the process would be what it's like. So it's a lot of fun. It's a dream, really.
And I really do think that you're paying these characters respect. I saw what you did for Oswald the rabbit. That was
Yeah,
chef's kiss. I mean, gorgeous.
I love
Seriously.
Oswald. Yeah, he's super cute.
He's underrated. And then you did it in blue and green, which you really can't see, but blue and green are my favorite colors. And I was just like, doing, 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 like.
Yeah, the one with the peace signs.
Yes. Yes. Listen, I really do love art. Like, if I had the space to buy them all, I would. I could look and talk about art forever. And I'm not an artist. I take pictures and videos, and I love to do that, but I can't do what you do. Much respect. But yes, big admiration. Okay. Does anyone want to ask a question? Because I feel like I'm mumbling.
I do, because I love Festival of the Arts and have been just a huge fan of all the artwork. But I was able to do several trips last year during Festival of the Arts, and your booth was very busy.
Yeah.
It was very busy. I kind of, you said that you kind of like get in the zone and then you're like, I'm in EPCOT. I want to hear a little bit about the interactions with the guests and, and with your, your collectors. What is that like to speak to them? And, do they have any really good stories about your art?
There's a few pieces that I think they've been given a lot of meaning because of the reasons why people buy them and whether I think there's a lot of times somebody will buy piece that Pluto's in and say it reminds them of their dog. And that to me is probably like really up there on the meaningful scale for me, because I would jump in front of a bus for Nemo. It's like if yeah, bye. So anybody that has a bond to their dog and, sees their bond with their dog in my work is like such an honor to me. Also, people that I think like on, I guess, both sides of the spectrum, like there's a lot of people that come up that are really elderly and like I'm definitely, they've seen Disney art for a long time and maybe they've collected Disney art for a long time. So for me to have my work to have meaning to them and for them to see something of mine that they like when they've been going to the parks their whole life, and that's a meaningful interaction to me. And also the younger kids is a lot of fun. There was this little girl this year who her parents brought her last year and she got her first piece from me, and then she returned this year and got another piece, and immediately when she saw my work, I think she turned like 5 this year, so she was 4 last year. She's like, I have this piece and this is where it is in my room, and now I'm going to have this piece and this is where it's going to go in my room. And she was so cute. And I think that, I mean, honestly, anybody that has their own story on like why my work resonates with them is like, there's not one that's more meaningful than the other to me, because it's like the fact that I just painted something and that strikes a chord with you, reminds you of the bond with your animal or, significant other or your brother or your sister or, anything. It's like, it's just so cool. It's not anything that I would have, because I obviously didn't intend for that while I was painting it. And so it just means that somebody's really kind of like looking at my work and it's hitting something for them. So it's always really cool. It's a huge honor for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of echo everyone else says. Huge fan of Festival of the Arts. It was actually, it was the first festival my wife and I went to together at, as a married couple, and
Aw.
like, and we would, because her mom wasn't it, I say is an artist, so she grew up kind of in that world, and so just seeing like all the different artists, like you were talking about earlier, like, the different mediums and everything. We actually took her mom this year for her first time ever at EPCOT at Festival of the Arts, and literally just seeing her just in awe of everything. So, but going back to Festival of the Arts, what is something that you would think most people don't realize about being part of Festival of the Arts?
I would say that you also have to be open to negative feedback. Yeah, of course. I mean, you catch comments every now and again. Luckily, I didn't hear that many of them. But of course, people are critiquing your work. So I think that it's equally as important to realize that it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and that you're putting your work out there for people to critique it and walk past it and say how they feel about it, whether it's good or bad. So yeah, it's not always that, it's not always a dreamy Walt Disney World commercial where, the kid is running up to Mickey Mouse and everybody's all happy. It's like, it's like maybe somebody
with their
does
head. Off with their head.
But it happens.
Rude.
And it's okay. It's fine. It comes with the territory, of course.
Okay, well, here's a PSA from a mother. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Just keep walking. Kindness is free. There we
Exactly.
go. There we go.
Retweet.
Yeah.
Retweet.
I'll get off my soapbox. But I know sometimes
To
things
quote
just
Dory, just keep swimming away.
Exactly. Away.
Yeah.
Far away.
But I get it. Sometimes things just don't resonate with people, but still, be kind.
Yeah. And honestly, more often, I'm really like, I didn't hear that many at all, which is nice. But it's mostly, they just don't like a character.
Yeah.
Or, it's like, and you're not looking at it like, I hate so-and-so. It's like, you can't take it personally. They just don't like that character. So it's like not, or they ask you if you have a certain character that maybe they didn't see, and then you show them the piece, but you can't expect them to like love that piece and then want to buy it. It's like I'm very I'm probably I hate the salesy aspect of art, and I never want anybody to speak to me thinking that like I would be pushing them to buy something. Like if something speaks to you and you love it and you want to take it home with you, that's wonderful. But if you also just want to have a conversation with me about art or about whatever, I'm equally as I'm so not for like the sale, because I think that's so not an authentic way to be an artist, because that's not what I want my art to be about. That's not what I think art should be about. So yeah, like I can't expect somebody to, even people that have purchased pieces from me, like I can't expect them to like the next thing or like something because of certain characters in it. You sort of just have to have a completely open mind and not take anything personally. And it's art, so it's completely subjective.
Well, I love what you just said about how people shouldn't feel like necessarily nervous or afraid to go talk to you if that's what they want to do. And I feel like that really speaks great to your character and, your delivery with your art. You're proud of your pieces. And at one point, your pieces make you vulnerable because there are critics out there. But at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like, we're getting to know you, you're getting to know us, we're getting to know that you're like this genuine guy. And no one's going to know that without talking to you, and they don't have to feel obligated. And people, I know I'm the first one where I'm just like, I talk to someone and I feel obligated and I just feel bad because they try, So I love that. I hope that the people who listen to this podcast and, hear that coming from you, that if they ever see you out and about, whether it's Four Seasons, Disney Springs, or at a future festival of the arts, and they want to, approach you to talk, that they can, and they don't have to feel, I feel like those are the little things that's also like, I don't know, magical, because I always tell my clients, I tell my friends and family, like every time I go to Disney, I always try something new. And I've been to Disney 1,000,001 times. And every day I always like, what's my something new? And that's something you could just be talking to someone that I would have not had that interaction before. And that one interaction can make your whole day just completely different. It's something super silly, but anyways, I just think that people see these artists and see these booths and they feel that obligation to have to buy an artwork, but really you don't have to. Like a museum, you can go, you admire the work, and I think that's what makes Festival of the Arts so special.
Yeah.
It brings something, I don't know, luxurious into a more like humane environment for people to have these interactions, which I really think is just awesome and personally. Here's a question that's a little bit out of the blue. And this one's from Mike, because he texted me. So, like I said, I'm a big fan, have been a big fan for the past 3 years. So he's like, don't be nervous. He's a human. But
Yes,
can you
please.
ask him this? He's like, so he wanted to know.
Okay.
What would be like your dream collab if you had one with another artist? Might be a little bit of a curveball. I'm so sorry.
With another artist. Well, I have a dear friend and also Disney fine artist. Her name is Denise Collette, and and I ask her every time what her like official verbiage is for the title. Brand creator, I'm pretty sure, is the title, with Swarovski. And she uses Swarovski crystals in her pieces, and I love her work. I love her even more as a person. And so we've talked about maybe working together on something in the future. So that, artist wise, she's like, I just admire her work, and she's incredible. And so yeah, she does really cool stuff. So around like COVID, Swarovski, I think, restructured their whole brand basically, and how they, I guess, distributed their crystals. So it's much more difficult. Like you can't just go into like a craft store and buy Swarovski crystals now. You have to get them from them, and you have to be like an approved artist with the brand. And so she's the only Disney artist to have that sort of certification and relationship with them. So she's able to use their crystals in her work. And, there's like thousands of crystals on some of her pieces, and she does a lot of really cool stuff. So yeah, she's like I just really admire her. So
Shout out to her. That sounds
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
That made me think of the Sorcerer Mickey hat that they had at D23 this past year that
Yes.
was made out of Swarovskis.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy stuff.
So, oh my goodness, that was... Anyways, would
Her
love
work
to
is
see that.
amazing. Her work is amazing.
I don't
Yeah,
think
you've
I've
seen it?
seen her work.
Yeah, she has such cool stuff. I mean, like,
Anything sparkly, like I'm all over anything sparkly.
yeah, and I love the fact that she went and sought out that, or I don't know if she sought it out or they invited her to be part of that program, but I think that like I'm very big on that part of like the brand relationships too. So I think that that's super cool and it adds a lot of validity to her work. Not that she needs it, but it's like to say that to say that you're backed by Swarovski is like such an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
should we talk about the margarita? The
Artgarita, yeah.
Artgarita?
The
Please,
Artgarita.
Please.
Is
just
it margarita
give us...
time?
I'm so sad I did not get a chance to try it. And I feel like I failed just the whole festival as a whole. And I just look at all these
No.
pictures and videos and I'm just like, there's not enough money in the world for me to go back right now. And just every single time I looked at it. But anyways, yes, I cried about it. But, you know, you're
Well,
here now to talk about
maybe I'll
it.
be able to get you the recipe so that you can make it at home. I don't know if it's a super secret Krabby Patty formula situation, but I'll see what I can do. And if I can get you the recipe,
That would be
maybe
amazing. Don't get
you would be
yourself
able
in
to,
trouble.
yeah, maybe you'll be able to make it. I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. Well, I'm just sweating over here, like, just an excitement. Tell us about your Artgarita. How did this even happen? Because, you know, La Cava del Tequila, everyone knows the avocado margarita there. You've got the Neil Patrick Harris, it's Black Smoke or something like that.
Black Magic, I think it's
Black
called.
Magic sounds about right. But now you got your own exclusive for the festival only for those of us listening here. Unfortunately, it is long gone. Unless you come up with something else for any future festival of the arts. But anyways, tell us all about this masterpiece.
Well, so last year we had one last year and we had one this year. But last year, that one we had a lot less time to work with before we did it. Last year was like a spin-off of a margarita that they already had for the festival. So it had other things added to it, plus it had like a paintbrush. And so what was fun was like it had this sparkly blue curacao, if that's how you say it, in it. So it like changed the color from, it was yellow, then it changed it to like a green color, which green is my favorite color. So it was really fitting and it came together quickly, but we executed it and it was great. But knowing that we had now a full year, we talked about what the next year's could look like. And I was like, okay, it's a lot of pressure, right? Because it's something where you want it to be cute, you want it to be like Instagrammable and obviously inspired by art. So I wanted it. So here's where my brain was the pink drink at Starbucks has always reminded me of like my paint water when I use like pink paint, because it's sort of like got that consistency where it's like, you know, clear, but not, and it's like a little bit cloudy because it's got whatever in it. This is like an awful description of the pink drink at Starbucks, but you know what it is. And so I wanted it to look like that. So we sort of went off that, and they don't use like artificial coloring in their drinks. So they had to really play around with what they could use to make it that pink color. And so they came up with a recipe and I tried it and I was like, this is incredible. They're strong and they're way too easy to drink. I love every second of it. And so, yeah, then we put it together for this year, and I honestly don't think it could be better, and it makes me really nervous about next year because it's like I don't know how we can top, like, it was so cute. It was just cute and it tasted great and it was fun. So yeah.
How did you get approached to do something like this? And before I lose my train of thought, you know what I honestly thought the first time I saw the picture of this Artgarita? I hope you guys can fill in the blanks for me, but I was thinking of like those chocolate covered animal crackers with like the circle sprinkles on them.
Yes. The
That is
frosted
what
animal crackers.
Yes, that is what I pictured. Like, it probably doesn't taste anything like it, but that was like, oh, I bet that was inspired. You know, what inspired something similar? I don't know. That's what I thought.
It tastes like a pina colada with tequila instead of, I guess, rum would be in a typical pina colada, and not frozen because it's just over ice.
You're nailing the tropical topic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Seriously. No, I'm sure you'll come up with something. That's a lot of fun. So anyways, my original question, how did you get approached to do something like this? There's all these artists, but you get chosen for this special task.
So well, now a great friend of mine, his name is Sebastian. He works and does all their social media at La Cava. He went to Four Seasons, I think, and saw that I had artwork there that had a filter on Instagram. And so I was able to make my artwork interactive. And then he wanted to do something like that for a drink there. And that's sort of how that conversation started. But since then, he's become like a extremely close friend of mine and ours. And he's like family now. So it's like, it makes all this so much more fun. But unfortunately, the interactive filter whole platform got dismantled by Meta this year in January. So that is like a thing of the past. So we couldn't do it again for this festival. And like, it was the craziest thing. Like they announced that they are basically just like turning off the platform, because the way that platform worked was you were able as like a creator to make different filters and like design your own filter, like, and some of them were like super extensive. And so they had like 3D aspects and you could do all this stuff. And then I think that the platform was more trouble than it was worth, is basically the consensus of it, because it broke down a lot and it was really not easy to like upload things and get them, Facebook and Instagram had to like approve everything. So then even more pressure for this year's drink to be really cute, because there was no filter that could go along with it that made it even more fun. So yeah.
Well, I have ideas for next year, and we can talk about that
Good.
off the
I'm
record.
Glad. Yes.
I've got something that you might be interested in. Also, so sad about that whole thing with the filter, because these two pieces, which I love and adore, had those two filters, and gosh, I kind of almost wish I didn't know.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's just fine. But that's actually really cool, though, that you have that connection, or able to, take it a step further with the Festival of the Arts, because, I mean, let's be real, that Artgarita was on every social media, every blogger, vlogger, you name it. It was popular. So you definitely were successful with that one, which I think, again, just super, super cool. You mentioned the Four Seasons. Yes. Let's dive a little bit about that. What is it?
Well, folks, that just about does it for part 1 of this week's episode of the Mouse Series podcast. We will continue part 2 of our wonderful conversation with Dom Corona later on this week. Don't forget to join our Mouse Sears podcast Facebook group and follow us on TikTok, Facebook, X, and Instagram to stay up to date for all things travel, but mostly Disney. And if you're interested in having a Fairy Tale Journeys agent book your next trip, visit fairytalejourneys.com and let them know that the podcast sent you. Lastly, if you enjoy our weekly episodes of the Mouse Ears podcast, we would love for you to leave us a review wherever you listen to us. Until next time, thanks everyone. Bye.